Hello, my name is Denise Spiller. I have a son, Austin Spiller, who died of a accidental overdose June 8th of 2013 from fentanyl. He actually ingested a fentanyl patch. Austin's story kind of began a year, not that long before he passed. A year before he passed, July of 2012, I realized he had a problem. I knew he was using marijuana or smoking marijuana. I didn't know how often or how much he was using prescription drugs. But in July, he was arrested on a Friday and Saturday night for being under the influence. And I was like, well, he doesn't drink alcohol. Well, the under the influence was prescription drugs. I bailed him out of jail those 2 times. I realized then he had a problem. I encouraged him to go to Bradford, to enter Bradford. I got him there one night, and then he found out how much it cost. Back then it was always a matter of money and having the money for rehab. It was $10,000, so he's like, Mom, you can't spend that kind of money on me. So we left that night, battled it, used Suboxone as one of the treatments, paid that out of pocket, tried to get him clean on Suboxone. After his death, I found out he was using the Suboxone strips to change it out for his drug of choice, which was morphine. And then finally in January, he said, Mom, I'm ready to go to rehab. I changed my health insurance. So my Blue Cross Blue Shield would pay part of Bradford, so he was willing to go. Of course, I thought that this is the light at the end of the tunnel. He went to Bradford for about 2.5 weeks, got home in February, the end of February, and I thought he was doing really good. We made a trip to Wisconsin in May. He was clean, he was sober, and less than 2 weeks later he died. I guess that's where his story ends, but mine begins. Just trying to get awareness out there. And after my son passed, I found out my daughter was also an addict. I didn't realize that at the time because I was consumed with Austin's addiction. My daughter now is clean about 2 years. She took the route of Suboxone because she has to work and she has 2 children, so she couldn't go away to rehab. One, I think, was her turning point is she found my son. She knew he had a fentanyl patch and didn't, back then, and I say back then, it hasn't even been 6 years ago, but the stigma was so bad, no one talked about it. My family didn't talk about it. My family never knew he was an addict. I was dealing with that alone, always feeling, no, I'm going to get him. It's going to, eventually he'll stop. Eventually we'll get over this. And just knowing now there is hope, there's help, there's rehab without, waiting on the insurance, or so many opportunities just in the last 6 years that I think has to give people hope. Me as a parent with Suboxone, I was like, that's just another addiction. But I come to try to understand that if she takes a small strip of Suboxone to stay clean, that's what keeps her clean. So I'm looking at it different as her small strip of Suboxone to keep her clean and alive is like me taking my antidepressant to keep me from being depressed. So I look at it as a medication to help her disease. And that's the story.